Right, we are no strangers to a real estate story for, what, the last 12 months, rather ironically, but certainly throughout 2021 that has continued. This is not a blip. This seems not to be a bubble, or if it is a bubble, it's certainly growing and growing and growing. We've had positive reports from so many different fields, but when Emaar Properties turn around and report, you all stand up and listen, especially when their results sound like this. Dubai's biggest listed property developer, Emaar Properties, recording a 250% jump in property sales in just the first 5 months of this year, 2021, as yet another indicator of economic recovery here in the region. Well, to dig into those numbers and to tell us whether they are reflective or not of the market as a whole, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome to our broadcast position down here at ICD Brookfield Place, friend of the show, Managing Director and Group Head Real Estate for ValuStrat, Declan King. Morning to you, Declan.
Good morning, Tom. Pleasure to be here.
Great to have you with us. Thanks so much indeed for popping on down to our pop-up studio down here. Not a bad little building to be in. Nice bit of real estate.
It's stunning, isn't it?
It's a good one. Let's get into these year-to-date Emaar numbers. So just to reiterate to our listeners and viewers, this is just, what, the first 5 months of this year?
Correct. So a significant increase in sales volumes. Emaar reporting sales of 10.5 billion dirhams in the first 5 months of this year, which is a 250% increase upon the same period last year. Obviously impressive coming from that low base of lockdown period over the same period last year, but still very impressive numbers.
Do these numbers tally with the rest of Dubai, the rest of the UAE? Is this indicative of?
They do. It is reflective of what we see as a strengthening property market. So over recent months, we've seen increases in the numbers of people buying properties. So transaction volumes are growing. We've seen increases in both capital values and rental values, particularly in the villa segment. And the villa segment seems to be the first part of the market to lead this recovery. And it does speak to that overall growing confidence in property in Dubai.
And what do the figures tell us about sort of supply and demand? We had the team here from, who was it, Lux Habitat, Sotheby's Realty, and they were talking about the fact that those uber luxury villas, the mansions yet to be built, just aren't there at the moment. There's not enough to go round. What are you seeing between supply and demand at the moment?
Okay, technically Dubai has oversupply, and that's why we've had the real estate committee over the last couple of years come in to try and control that. But in reality, we do have pockets of undersupply. So in particular locations, again, particularly in the villa market, and that's now washing into some of the more middle and upper apartment market. So I suppose my answer would be generally yes, a helicopter view, there is oversupply, but certainly in particular locations, no, there's more demand than there is supply.
Really simple question. I'm not sure if we've got enough time to answer it, but again, I sit here, and I don't know if I'm alone, but scratch my head a little bit going, why is this happening at the moment? Can you put your finger on it?
Yeah, there's a number of reasons. Like a number of global cities, there has been this counterintuitive post-COVID spike in property markets as people look towards working from home, increased personal space, etc., etc., etc. Dubai has come into this with historically low real estate prices. So if you're buying, you are possibly buying at some of the lowest price points in recent years. Investors looking for yield. What else can they do with their money? So they're buying real estate, they're investing in real estate.
We had one guy on about an hour ago just bought a supermarket in a bad part of Manchester. That's how desperate investors are for yield. It's got that bad.
And I think interestingly for investors, we're not just looking at rental yield, we're also looking at expectations of capital growth. So investors expect if they pay 5 million today, that it might be worth 6 million pretty soon.
Is the finance there at the moment? It's all good and well, the real estate agents and the developers out there singing from the rooftops about how good the market is, but if you can't get the money to pay for said property, or is that a pressing concern here, or have we got people just coming in with holdalls full of cash?
Well, there are cash buyers, but for the ordinary man on the street, yes, if you can get a mortgage, the reality is your mortgage repayments may be less than the equivalent rent on that villa, but you do need to have your down payments, you do need to have your 4% taxation fee on the acquisition, you need to have your estate agent's fees as well.
So going back to these figures that you've been kind enough to reflect on, Emaar Properties, obviously one of the oldest and most established brands in the market. Are we now seeing that count? I mean, obviously they haven't been around as long as your Sotheby's Realty, etc. But in terms of to buy property, they have. Does that count?
Absolutely, the brand is up there as being the shining star that others will aim towards. They've got obviously huge brand quality. They've got a lot of trust from potential buyers, and I think it's not just about the quality of the product that EMA deliver. But if you look at the developments, which are now 10 and 15 years old around Dubai, they really manage them so well. And that proves the trust that people have in how that development will move into the future.
And in terms of I'm very conscious of the fact that there will be those listening and viewing at the moment going, come on guys, get real, you know, look what's gone before, look what happened last year as well. Is there an element of that when we compare and contrast to what has been?
I think understandably there is, and we are a firm of valuers. So when we look at valuing real estate and we're looking at more recent sales, we're having to ask ourselves, are they just outliers that may not continue into the future, or is this really a solid recovery and an upward trend that may continue?
And what is the chat at ValuStrat HQ at the moment? Is there the potential? Have we got all the ingredients for this one to continue to cook, continue to bake?
I think most of us feel that the trend is upward. Obviously, there's no guarantee. You could buy today and it could be worth less in the future, but we think coming from the historically low prices that we've seen in recent years, it looks like this trend is going to keep moving upwards.
And again, I don't want to be the sort of Debbie Downer or the naysayer here, but you know, there is a field of thought, or a school of thought, I should say, that you know, once travel comes back, once people have more movement around the world, then there will be interest in other parts of the world. Could that be a detractor, do you think, from the market once the travel opens up again?
I'm not sure if it will. Dubai historically has always had a strong inward-bound investment from people who maybe don't come here that often, maybe come here occasionally on holidays. They like to buy real estate in Dubai, particularly from the immediate Asian countries. So I think that's likely to continue. I think if you are looking to buy, it really is a case of looking at those sectors of the market where we've seen strong recovery, being very conscious of those other pockets of oversupply. I think those areas may witness a very different couple of years ahead as that oversupply washes through.
Declan, can't thank you enough for coming in to crunch the numbers for us. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come down to our pop-up studio down here, so thank you very much indeed. And that was Declan King, who is the Managing Director and the Group Head Real Estate for ValuStrat.